Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of Nevada. So we're going to do something a little differently in today's video. As you guys know, these videos that are normally posted at the top of a listing page are always property specific. Sometimes if we're buying a bunch of lots in a subdivision and all the lots are basically interchangeable, I'll do one video. We'll post it on all those listing pages. This is something similar, however, but it's going to be about the town of Pahrump. So we're currently making efforts to buy a lot of land out here in Pahrump. At the time you're watching this video, I'm going to be debuting 4 properties, but we'll be debuting more over the next month, and certainly depending on how these things sell, likely more throughout the year. And it's my intention to keep a kind of revolving door of inventory in this region because I like this region for residential purposes, I like it for investment purposes, etc. Point being, we're going to post this video on all of those listing pages. And the video is an introduction to Pahrump and to why we like these properties, so on and so forth. But it's also going to teach you how to sort of better kind of navigate all of the information that we provide on each of these listing pages. To better inform yourself about a specific lot and also to better compare and contrast individual lots and figure out which one works best for you. Now, as you'll notice here, guys, we've got property-specific notes right here at the top of the page. That's ultimately the first best step into kind of familiarizing yourself with a special lot. Additionally, at the bottom of the page, we have photos, as we do here all the time at Hemingway Land, photos from the exact property itself. Additionally, within the middle of the page, there's a property table with a lot of legal information on the parcel, so on and so forth. So those are obviously the first 3 ways into this that are going to kind of better teach you about this. And linked on each page, we're going to have a master list of all of our Pahrump properties. Right now, as I said, it's only about 4 listings, but that's going to expand over time. And of course, this spreadsheet will ultimately help you better and contrast these lots. For the time being, however, I want to talk about Pahrump and just the valley out there and why I think these are good properties. Most of the zoning is interchangeable. So I'm going to touch on some things here that are going to be largely the same per property, but wherever they're different, of course, we're always going to address them here in the property specific notes. Anyway, guys, with all that said, as with all of our listings, we've got 5 GPS coordinates here, 4 corner points in the center. Click any one of these and up on Google Maps, the property shall appear. Now, of course, because we're not doing a property-specific video, I'm just going to start off by saying, okay, guys, here's the state of Nevada. If you don't know where Pahrump is, you've got Reno up here, you've got Las Vegas down here, and then sort of adjacent to Las Vegas is the town of Pahrump over here in Nye County. Nye County, it should be noted, is one of the largest counties in the country as far as square acreage. It is a massive county out here in south central Nevada. Whatever the case, if we zoom in here on the map, you are going to see this is the town of Pahrump, and right here, in map view, this doesn't look like all that much. You just see a couple lines drawn on the map, but if you go to satellite view, you are going to see that this, in fact, is a dense residential area. Roughly 36,000 residents live out here in Pahrump, and as far as small desert communities throughout the state of Nevada, communities that are not Las Vegas and are not Reno, this is one of the larger ones, particularly as far as population density goes. And because it is one of the larger ones, if you zoom in here on the map, you will see that pretty much any amenity you would need when living in this region is within easy driving distance here along Highway 160. Now, if I put the cursor on the thing, I'm going to get this bubble appear, so I'm not going to do that because it's going to annoy everyone. But the point is, here along Highway 160, if you can't see it in the video, bring up the map, just kind of scrutinize this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You've got a Walmart out here, you've got a Home Depot out here. Obviously, 2 things you're going to need, particularly if you start building some kind of structure within the area. Additionally, you've got multiple grocery stores, the Smiths and Albertsons. You've got multiple fast food restaurants. You've got post office. You've got multiple casinos where you can go for recreation, etc. And you've got, of course, within the surrounding valley, schools, churches, hospitals, such as right over here on the map, Desert View Hospital, etc. Point being, if you're living in this region, you're going to have easy access to most any amenity that you need or want. In the instance that you do not, however, then, of course, just nearby is the town of Las Vegas. Las Vegas metro area, of course, is roughly about 2 million people. Now, guys, let's talk about this. Let's be clear. So, Las Vegas is pretty big. Everybody, however, knows the Las Vegas Strip. The Las Vegas Strip, however, is one street in the middle of the valley, okay? From Pahrump, from any one of these subject properties out to the Strip, that's roughly about an hour. You're going to see that hour drive time mentioned a lot in a lot of different places. What you should know, however, is that Western Vegas is about 20 minutes closer. Okay, this is known as Summerlin and South Summerlin. This area, of course, is the Vegas suburbs, sort of the Vegas yuppie suburbs. But the point is that anything that you can't find out here, you don't have to drive an hour to get. You only have to drive about 40, 45 minutes, 35, depending on how quickly you do that drive out here to South Summerlin. Of course, this is a densely developed area where you have all sorts of businesses, stores, restaurants, medical facilities, so on and so forth. In addition, about 7 million golf courses. Point being, anything that you would want would be out here. Now, there's a couple reasons why I like properties in Pahrump, both for residential purposes as in addition as investment purposes. Try to spit that out. Anyway, in regards to investment purposes, let's talk about this. So anybody who's at all familiar with Las Vegas or with cities like Phoenix, or any place in the Sun Belt, you know that people are migrating there constantly. The population is always expanding, etc. In the last few years, however, Las Vegas has had even greater expansion because we've gotten things like professional sports teams. Yes, we got sports for the first time. So we got a hockey team. We got the Las Vegas Raiders now. We got women's basketball. We've got soccer teams, so on and so forth. In addition, in the last year, during a global pandemic, we built 2 major hotel resort casinos. Each of these things, of course, brings in a lot of jobs. The resort casinos bring in about $10,000 per property, so on and so forth. And with more people moving here, more opportunity for jobs, etc., you have an even greater demand for housing. So we buy and sell land in Colorado and New Mexico and Hawaii and hopefully other places soon. But your narrator lives in Las Vegas. And I lived here for close to 20 years. And I am always shocked, and have been, particularly during the recession, at even how fast the valley was expanding. And when Vegas expands, right now it's expanding to the south, it's expanding to the west, and it's expanding up here in the northwest. Point being, I have lived here long enough and I've known enough people in Nevada to know that there are no shortage of people who made money buying land in some rural desert nothing area and then 10 years later it turned into something that they sold for a considerable profit. Now, let's be clear. I'm not pitching properties in this area as you buy them today and they're going to be worth $1 million in 1 year or 5 years. Nay. But the more development that I see in Vegas, the more that I believe this area is slowly going to encroach upon this area. And additionally, you have more people who move to Vegas who maybe can't afford Vegas or who maybe aren't crazy go nuts about suburban yuppie lifestyle, but they like being out here in Pahrump. So this is expanding at a certain pace. This is expanding at a certain pace. And I would say within 10, 15 years, there's a good chance that these two are going to be a lot closer together and are going to meet. And that may sound crazy, but I don't think a lot of people would have believed, 10 or 15 years ago that southern Las Vegas here would expand all the way out to Sloan, as it basically has at this point. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So the point is that the rapid expansion of both these areas, but particularly Las Vegas, means that there's going to be more demand for housing here that can't be accommodated within the Las Vegas Valley. Prices are going to go up, and people are going to look for more affordable alternatives, and Pahrump will be coming closer and closer to Vegas as time goes on. So I like the properties for that reason. Now, additionally, when you talk about residential properties, right? I like these properties. As you saw on the page here, we say that all of these properties have city utilities. Now, city utilities is a longer conversation. I'll get into it later in the video. But the point is, this is an area that is built for residential development. Okay, so every one of these lots, it has 1, it has 2, it's serviced by city utilities, so on and so forth. So it makes it a lot easier to build out here than places that we list in, for instance, New Mexico. A lot of places in New Mexico require a well. And right after you buy the property, you're dumping, $10,000, $20,000 on getting a well done. That's not going to be the case out here. Now, what specifically does it cost to get utilities extended to a specific property? That's another conversation to have, and we'll talk about it more later in the video. But the point is that as far as buying in an area that is suited, that is essentially developed for residential purposes, this is pretty good, number one. And number two, proximity to Vegas. Now, number three, let's also talk about this. So, Southern Nevada is one of the most gorgeous parts of America. And within the backyard of both Pahrump and Vegas, you have just some great iconic attractions. Now, we've got on the listing page here, if you're unfamiliar with these, down here under points of interest, we've got a whole bunch of things linked. And instead of me sitting on this Google Maps image for too long, I'm just going to point you to some of these. Red Rock Canyon. Red Rock Canyon is very close to Pahrump, and this is gorgeous out here, okay? And this is, roughly about a 30-minute drive from Pahrump. It's between both Pahrump and Vegas. Additionally, guys, you've got Lake Mead out here, which is a little closer out toward East Henderson, toward Boulder City. In fact, if we bring it up on a map just to kind of show you, this would be Lake Mead over here. So you're driving from here to here, but it's still pretty close, and it's still, of course, gorgeous and a sight to see. Additionally, Death Valley is a little bit northwest of Pahrump, out closer to Beatty. This, of course, is an area that people love to hike and explore, etc. That is very close. You've got Spring Mountain Ranch, which in relation to Pahrump and Vegas is a little bit in between the two here along this Highway 160. This is where Spring Mountain Ranch is out here. And I'm losing track of the tabs, but we've also got Mount Charleston. Believe it or not, skiing is just right around the corner here, Mount Charleston and nearby Lee Canyon. Both of these can be found very close to Pahrump in this region right here. Now, I am actually not aware of a route that goes directly from Pahrump out here into the mountains. I think you pretty much have to come into Vegas and then work your way up here into the 95 and then back into Mount Charleston. But the point is, skiing, which you wouldn't expect, is available to you out here in southern Nevada. These are high elevation mountains, and these are often snow-capped when it rains out here, though it doesn't rain out here often, but you get the point. Anyway, guys, so aside from that, there is also, what tab am I on now? Here we go. There's also Valley of Fire. Valley of Fire, of course, is north, closer up by Mesquite. If you pull back on the map, you would say that it is out this way over here. Valley of Fire, of course, is gorgeous. It's an excellent place to explore. But the point is that with all of these places, it's just this sort of just great iconic Western scenery, just so many things to do and see out here besides the obvious Las Vegas Strip. Besides the obvious casinos, there's all this great outdoor activity within southern Nevada. So just want to make you aware of that because I also do believe that it's a genuine selling point of this region. Anyway, with all that said, guys, let's talk about some zoning. Let's talk about covenants and restrictions. So on each of these pages, we're going to have notations about covenants and restrictions and about zoning. What I have seen from the properties that we have purchased out here is that, well, first let's do this. So there's 3 or 4 types of zoning designations. They're either VR8, Village Residential 8, or Village Residential 10, or Village Residential 20. And from what I have seen, there's not a heck of a lot of difference within at least the zoning ordinances that we're able to find. These excerpts that we provide for you on the website will give you some indication of what that zoning designation means. You can dig into it a little bit further. You can call the county and you can talk with them further. Say, here are my plans. Can I do X, Y, and Z? What do I need to know? Point being is that the zoning information will be linked on every one of these pages up here in the property specific notes, and it will also be linked down here under zoning, where we will enumerate the specific zoning designation. Okay. Additionally, let's talk about covenants and restrictions. So right now we're buying properties in the Calvada Valley subdivision, as well as the Calvada Valley North subdivision. There is, from what I have counted so far, about 8 other subdivisions. We'll probably try to buy in all of those. So giving you going through all these covenants and restrictions that exist would be difficult to do in one video. Suffice to say, these will also be linked here in the table, as well as up here in the property specific notes. And we'll go into a little detail about how strict or onerous or not strict we find these things to be. For the record, when it comes to these zoning designations, from everything I have read in here, most of these basically indicate you have to be compliant with state building codes and state environmental laws. So they're not the type of covenants and restrictions, generally speaking, they're not the type of covenants and restrictions that you'll see that dictate, let's say, the size of the tool shed you can have in your backyard. It's more so like, well, if you're going to build a house, you have to be up to code, which obviously you would have to do anyway. So I don't find these to be as ridiculous as a lot of covenants and restrictions that we find within places in New Mexico or places in Hawaii. But if you're looking at a property and you want to learn more about this, we're going to have these covenants and restrictions available for you to read, and you can dig into these. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these have to do with local zoning. So if you do have any questions, probably best to call local zoning out there. And of course, we have their county contact information provided here on the page down at the bottom to kind of help you with that, to kind of help you with your due diligence. There's the Nye County Planning Department, and there's the Pahrump Regional Planning Commission. And where the responsibilities of one ends and the other one begins, I'm not entirely certain, but that's the kind of thing you learn from just making enough of those phone calls. Anyway, guys, point being, covenants, restrictions, zoning will all be provided on these individual listing pages, but from everything that I have seen, it's not too ridiculous. You know, we get all these questions all the time about zoning, about can I do X, Y, and Z. Please keep in mind, for however much that this is a developing residential community, it's still a pretty conservative Western town where they prefer fewer regulations to more regulations, let's say. So I don't see homeowners associations out here. I don't see things out here. They might exist. I don't see things out here that, are really detailed in their stipulations. You can't build a fence higher than this. You can't park more cars than X on the street, so on and so forth. I don't think you're going to encounter that in Pahrump, okay? but you should familiarize yourself with those things prior to a purchase. Anyway, guys, let's also talk about this. So while I do not want to make this a property-specific video, I do, however, just want to show you what's available to you down here in the bottom in the gallery on the page. First of all, we have a plat map available for each one of these properties, so you can see, for instance, that we're not just making up random geometric shapes, that it has some foundation in reality. So you can bring the property up on a map, you can see exactly where it is, but then you can also come to the listing page and you can see kind of footprint of it here in the gallery, as well as the footprint demonstrated on the plat map. Now, in addition, we also have some photos here. These are photos from Pahrump itself, just from that sort of main drag that I was showing you. And it gives you a sense of exactly how built up it is. It gives you a sense of what's available to you out here, that this is, you know, a well-developed, quaint, small town. This, of course, is the hospital I was showing you. That's the Home Depot, so on and so forth. But again, this just sort of reaffirms that all of these various shops and stores that you may need to, you know, anything that you need is close by is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, after you go through these photos, you're always going to come to property-specific photos down here. And this is where you can sort of analyze things that we have. For instance, here's a property, sewer grading is very close to it. That, of course, means that, you know, sewer services are offered within this area, septic services. Additionally, you can see some well-built-up homes here. You see power lines, you see paved roads. It gives you a sense of exactly what you'd be buying or what the neighborhood is like where you'd be buying in. Additionally, with this property, you can see there's a fire hydrant on the land. Actually, this is right across the street. So the point is that water services are in this area, etc. And you can see some of the nicer, you know, built-up homes that are here. Underground utilities are available on this property, so on and so forth. And please keep in mind, guys, as I'm going through this gallery, this property may be sold by the time that you're watching this video, but this is just my way of demonstrating what's available to you here in the gallery and what sort of information you can glean from the photos. Additionally, as always, guys, we have the overhead shots with the property outline, which will give you, of course, an exact sense of the, you know, size, shape, location of the lot that you'd be buying. On this one, you can kind of make out the details here. You can kind of see the underground utilities right here at the lot line. You can see the aforementioned fire hydrant right here. And, of course, you've got power lines really all over. Nothing specifically on the lot, but all very close. And, of course, paved roads with sewer grading nearby is always a good sign. So if you're looking for a place to build out here, you can kind of compare and contrast these, analyze the neighborhoods that they're in, what utilities might be available to you, might obviously be available to you versus might have to be extended from somewhere else. And by the way, the photos that you're looking at here, this kind of cluster of homes or this sporadic setup of homes, you're going to see this on the map. Whenever you bring up the map here, guys, you can look at exactly how developed an area is. Now, this is a property that I know has all of these utilities available to it. Some of these are a little not as obvious, let's say. Some of these might be on a street like this, an area like this. Some of them, you know, very obviously have power at the lot line, but you'll look at them and you'll say like, well, the nearest homes are over here. So does this really have sewer and water? Those are good questions. Now, let me just, so we've got a document here that I want to show you guys. Of course, I'm losing track of what's what. Anyway, these are some of the zoning regulations. If you read through the zoning ordinances out there, or if you talk to anybody in Pahrump city government, let's say, or Nye County government, you're going to see that all of their zoning regulations have this full public services are available, particularly when you look at these zoning designations. I mentioned them earlier, VR20, VR10, VR8. If you're looking at a property and you know that it's zoned that way, because we've indicated that, and you see this full public services, well, that indicates that, yes, that's an area that's serviced by city utilities. Now, I want to be clear about this, guys. You know, we say at the top of the listing page that all these properties have utilities. It's a shorthand, okay? So just to be clear, we'll indicate in the property specific notes what utilities it has, what utilities you'll need to dig in and investigate a little bit more. Some of it might not even be a question of is it available so much as what does it cost to get it extended to the lot or to get it hooked up. And because of that, here under county contact information, we also have the names of the local utility companies. Of course, you click on any one of these, it's going to bring up their respective websites. Nevada Energy, this of course is Solup. Solup is one of the sort of up-and-coming solar companies out here. Of course, living in the desert, living in southern Nevada, there's a lot of tax incentives for powering your home site with solar, so this may want to be something that you want to investigate. Additionally, Southwest Gas, and additionally, Great Basin Water Company. This is the primary water utility that services this region. Now, quick thing, guys. We also have linked here underneath Great Basin, we have this PDF, Great Basin Water Company Residential Service Inquiry Form. And I just want to show you what this looks like. So, you know, as I'm saying, in the interest of full disclosure, you know, some of these properties have utilities right at the lot line. Some of them, it's logical. There's, 7 homes down the street. They could probably extend it, so on and so forth. My big question, particularly if I was a buyer, is what exactly is that going to cost? What does it cost to run a line? What does it cost to hook me up to water lines, to sewer lines, so on and so forth? I don't know much about this. So I always encourage buyers in these sort of situations, due diligence, buyer's responsibility, call around, talk to the utility companies. So you can figure out logistically, you can figure out practically, you can figure out as just a concern of expense. What am I going to be spending? This is a document. So we reached out to Great Basin Water Company about this specific property that I was showing you here in the video. This one in this kind of dense residential area where there's a fire hydrant right across the street. And we asked them about service, about what it takes to get hooked up and so on and so forth. Now, of course, you can't really get a straight answer from a lot of people, but they do send you kind of helpful forms to look at. This one, of course, indicates some prices here that I want to make you guys aware of. Water meter connection, $27.28. Water storage capacity, $900. Water supply, $650. Sewer connection, $21.40. Sewer capacity, $19.25. These are numbers I would want to know. These are numbers I would want a seller disclosing to me prior to going in and purchasing something of this cost. Now, if you're looking for land in Pahrump, most likely you're going to have to deal with these costs, whether you buy land from us or anybody else. But as always, we just recommend this. It's a good thing to investigate in advance. Anyway, guys, with all that said, let's talk about the buying process. Let's talk about how you can actually purchase one of these properties. Up here on the listing page, well, first off, let me say this. We have payment options, okay? We got 3 things that I want you guys to be aware of, so follow with me here. We got a cash price and we got a financing price. Now, if you click the cash button, it's going to take you to this page right here where we ask for a non-refundable, guys, let me say that again, non-refundable earnest money deposit of $500. We ask for $500 because we do not anticipate that the average person can charge $6, $7, $8, whatever $1,000 in a credit card in one shot. Okay, so we ask for $500 and we give you an option down here. How do you want to fund and close this purchase? And you have essentially 2 options, which is, okay, I'm going to pay for it myself, credit, debit card, whatever, in which case we're going to pay the closing costs. We are the seller. We're going to pay the closing costs to get the property recorded, to get it conveyed into your name. Or maybe you want to close through a title company. Maybe you want to get title insurance. You want to make sure the property is insured. Maybe you're just skeptical about giving somebody online a whole bunch of money. That's fine. We get that all the time. It's a reasonable concern. Point is, you can click one of these options to indicate to us if your $500 is an earnest money deposit and you want to pay us in the next, day, 2 days, whatever, or if you want to close through a title company. Now, let's be clear about how both these work, guys, okay? If you say, hey, I want to pay you with a credit debit card, I don't need to close through a title company, we're going to expect that you're going to pay this within the next couple days, okay? Some people, maybe they can't charge $8,000 on a credit card unless they charge $1,000 a day. I understand. We deal with it all the time. But the point is, we're going to want you to, act quickly on this, okay? This isn't the kind of thing where we put down $500 and we finance it for 12 months, or we hokey poke around for 60 days and then pay. It's something where we're going to want the money pretty soon. Now, if you elect to close through a title company, just so you know, you're going to be paying the closing cost on that. We closed on all of these properties. Every property we're going to list in Nye County is one that we will have already gotten title insurance on. And we've got a title company that we work out there. It's called County Title. They service a lot of rural Nevada, and they have insured all of the properties we'll be listing. So if you want to close through a title company, we're going to recommend them. And because they already have a file on each of these individual lots, it will likely be faster and it will likely be cheaper. And to answer your next question, what do title and escrow costs typically come to on properties of this size, this price range? I would budget $800 to $1,000 if I were the buyer, okay? Anyway, with that said, additionally, on this page down here where we discuss these kind of payment options, basically everything I just said is reiterated right here, but one thing I want to make you guys aware of, title escrow. If you click this link, it's going to take you to a page on our website called Buying From Us, How It Works. And down here, we detail the title escrow process. Now, if you're going to buy the property outright, you put down $500, we're going to start drafting some conveyance documents, you're going to pay us the rest of the money, we're going to put it in your name. If you're closing through a title company, the way that's going to work is you're going to put down the $500, we're going to draft a sale purchase agreement, we sign it, you sign it, we submit it to the title company, and they will do the rest. So, for those not familiar with this, the benefits of title company, number one is you're going to get title insurance. If you plan to build on the land, you're likely going to have to take out a loan. Let's pretend. You're going to have to take out a loan from a bank, from a lender. Bank won't lend on property that doesn't have title insurance. So that's the first benefit. Second benefit, of course, is that you're not handing your money directly to a stranger on the internet. You're going to have a third-party intermediary who will not disperse your funds to us until such a time as we've signed a deed and the property's been conveyed to you. Whatever the case, if you would like to see what one of our contracts looks like, we have a generic version of our standard sale purchase agreement. So if you put down $500, this is the contract we're going to present you with. Always a good idea to review these things in advance. That being said, this one is not incredibly complicated. It's one page for signatures. If you want your lawyer to look at it, that's fine with us, but I think you'll find it's pretty self-explanatory. Anyway, guys, so those are the first two options by which you can purchase the property. The third is a financing option. Now, we get a lot of buyers, of course, who can't afford to pay whatever $6,000 or $8,000 in one shot, but they would like to finance it, and they can afford $2,000 or $2,500 or $3,000 down, and they can pay monthly. So on each of these properties, we're going to have specific terms. The terms will be enumerated per property down here, as well as up here on this Buy Now button. The specific property is $3,000 down, $250 a month times 26 months. Point being, if you click this box up here, it's going to take you to a checkout where we're going to ask for that $3,000 deposit, and we're going to set up a recurring $250 a month payment plan. Now, a couple things to know about the way that we do these sorts of deals. Number one, there's going to be a land contract. If you'd like to see a copy of what that land contract looks like, what we'll be asking you to sign when we're doing this deal for this extended period of time, you can click this link right here and you can again see, I'm not going to call this generic, it's a more specified version of whatever price range you're looking at right now. If you're looking at an $8,000 property, we're going to have a contract with an $8,000 price point, listed on the page. Point being, guys, is that the contract's going to enumerate a couple things. Number one, our contracts have no prepayment penalties, only prepayment incentives. And we incentivize it further with these Nye County properties, with these Pahrump properties, by giving you guys 180 days, same as cash. So you can put down the deposit today, hit the lotto 2 months from now, pay the whole thing off, and you're only going to be paying the cash price. Additionally, of course, you can also review the contract and see if you're comfortable with all the terms here. This one is one we get questions about all the time. You're going to be responsible for the taxes that come with the property. Let's be clear, when you put down the deposit, the taxes will be at zero. We're just saying that every time a bill comes due during the 12 or 24 months, that's going to be something that'd be your responsibility. Okay, I'm not sure why this isn't coming up, but we'll fix that problem by the time you guys watch the contract. Anyway, point being, you can read over the contract and you can see all that. Now, additionally, guys, do want to make you aware, of course, we don't deed the property into your name until such time as all the payments have been made. Between now and then, the land contract is the document which demonstrates your equitable interest in the land. Okay, and again, all of these are going to have the 180 days, same as cash guarantee within them, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, guys, so 3 ways to purchase and just a lot of things to like about these properties. Again, if you want to familiarize yourself more with specific details, we got the property specific notes here. We got the photos at the bottom of the page. And if there is a property that I think merits further explanation, or if there's something confusing or some detail I want to dig into further, I will likely provide a video for that property at the bottom of the page. Just a quick kind of 3 or 4 minute thing about whatever I think is special or needs to be discussed. With all that said, guys, I hope you like these properties as much as I do. We're going to be listing a few out there in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be listing more in the future. And as I said at the start of the video, I hope to have a lot of property out here in Pahrump for you guys to review and ultimately purchase. Anyway, guys, this was a long video, but I appreciate you watching. Thanks as always, and we'll see you in the next one.